So he pushed you. Did he push you to like open mic for the first time
Yeah.
or what that? Okay.
Yeah, he kept saying like you got to do it. Just like basically dared me to do it until I finally, agreed to the dare. And then I was watching the news in Los Angeles one day. This was probably 2003 when I
Hmm.
started. Was thinking about it. I had gone through a breakup, so I was like that I needed to get out of the house. And I was
Yeah.
watching the news, and this guy on the news shot himself in the head with a nail gun, and like it
Where it was
yeah,
going.
like the nail ricocheted off of the tree, whatever it was that he was building, and it ricocheted up into his eye socket, up into his brain, and he worked the whole day. And
He
like he
worked
worked
the
8 hours. He worked the whole day. And then when he finally went to the hospital, everyone was like, I can't believe he didn't feel it. I can't believe he didn't feel it. And I said, well, I wouldn't be able to feel 3.5 inches if I got nailed. So what's the big deal? And so that was the first joke that I ever wrote. See, that made you laugh. That was the first joke I ever wrote, and it worked. And then I thought, oh, this is so easy. And then it took me probably 2 more months to write another good joke.
Welcome, fellow lushes. Come on in, pull up a bar stool, and enjoy some cocktails with Dimples and the Beard.
I look like a slob today, I feel.
You do. You look
feel
pretty
like a slob.
You look pretty fucking homeless right now. Not gonna lie.
A little bit. But there's a reason for this.
And like you're trying to steal my thunder with.
Oh, she's already there.
All right.
Jesus.
Well, welcome back, fellow lushes, to another episode of Cocktails with Dimples in the Beard. Tonight we are joined by the beautiful and hilarious Sarah Tiana.
Hilarious. And beautiful.
So subscribe.
And sexy, but do us a favor, please. Shut the fuck. Job.
Fudgy.
Please do us a favor. Biggest thing you can do is share. Share our content, like, subscribe. Costs you nothing, means the world does.
Comment.
I got no slang work today.
God, you have one.
Yeah, all that. I can't come up with
One
slang
job.
every freaking time.
One job. Call us horsecocks. It'd be true.
You can't say cock this early.
Yeah, you can. It'd be true for one of us anyway.
You can't.
So we never.
I never what?
Never.
I never keep a pretty lady waiting. If you would just slow.
We got somebody.
Get over and turn her on.
We got somebody in the waiting room.
I understand that.
I think we're gonna have to cut this whole intro anyway. Without further ado, Sarah Tiana.
Oh,
hello.
hello. Wow, look at you guys set up. That's so nice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All decked out.
I cannot believe we are talking to Sarah Tiana. I'm sorry, I'm gonna fanboy out a little bit.
Don't fanboy. There's no need. I'm like in a cubby in a bedroom at my house. It's like not glamorous.
Well, we
Nice.
appreciate
you
it.
alone is glamorous enough.
Yes, thank you so much. And first of all, we got to know. It seems like it, but I'm going to ask: are you in a good enough mood to do this? I know the Braves have lost 4 straight, so
It's been a tough weekend. It was not my favorite Mother's Day. But no, I mean it actually was my favorite Mother's Day. But yes, I'm just trying to stay positive.
I mean, the nice thing about
way to start it off.
The nice thing about
The
baseball
Mets-
is there's always today. So I mean, they play every day. So
well, the Mets already lost today, so I'm already in a good mood because the Mets already lost.
okay, so you're a big Braves fan and big Mets hater.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Heck yeah. Well, I just want to, before we even start, I just want to kind of lay out how we're going to do this. I have a plan for you. First, we're going to talk about the.
I have no idea what's happening right now.
That's it.
A plan.
She finds it hot when men may have a plan.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make a plan. So okay. So this is the plan for today. We'll discuss you. We'll discuss me. We'll discuss you some more, and we'll just keep talking about you. Is that a plan?
That's a great plan.
Does that work?
Yeah, that works.
All right.
And by the way, we got a little tie because we're in Wisconsin. So
okay.
So we had Hank Aaron here for his first however many
Yep.
years. So we know you're a
Yep.
big Hank Aaron fan. So
Well, before we
Yeah.
were born, yes.
yeah. Before I was
Yeah. Right
Pretty
around,
much.
I'm like a cusper on that. Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Milwaukee, so he
Oh, nice.
was my favorite player growing up, and I got to see him a few times play.
Amazing.
Yes, I love it. Obviously, it was a end of his career, and
Yeah.
not dinging a whole lot, but you know what? He still was. He was still hammering Hank, so I loved it.
Still pretty cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I love that stadium in Milwaukee. It's a really nice stadium.
the new one. Well, it's not new anymore, I guess. I mean, it's 20 years old now, but I think back to the days of Miller Park or County Stadium. Excuse me, County Stadium.
Oh yeah. No, I never went to that one. I've only been to. I mean, I guess I was there probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, probably would have been the new one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's still a nice stadium.
How'd you get into baseball?
I got into baseball. My grandmother was a big baseball. My whole family was a big baseball fan. I was born in Northern California, so everybody up there, they're all Oakland A's fans. And my grandmother worked for the Oakland A's after she retired for like 20-something years. So she taught me to keep score. She always went to the games. She had season tickets and she would give out the stuff at the gate, and then she would go sit at her seat and keep score.
Nice.
And then when we moved to Georgia, we thought we would stay Oakland A's fans, and then quickly realized you can't ever watch those games, but the Braves were on all the time. Yeah,
I mean, they
TBS.
were on for us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
The start of cable, so.
Yeah, so it became very easy to. We just lived on TBS from Hanna-Barbera, watching the Flintstones and the Jetsons and Gilligan's Island and Andy Griffith after school. It just rolled. It was on the whole way till the Braves game started.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So then we watched it every day, around the, on TV trays.
Yeah.
And that's how it started.
The good old TV trays.
I had a granny who liked to keep score at baseball games too. It's something about old ladies; they just love doing that.
I know, and now I'm one of them. Now I'm one of those old ladies that keeps score at the game.
Well, young lady, but yeah.
I'll quickly turn into an old lady in no time. So I gotta keep doing it just to practice it, because I feel like you'd forget, if you don't flex that muscle.
How often do you go and do it?
I mean, just whenever I go to a game, to a Braves game. So, I mean, it's only 2-3 times a year, maybe 4 now, 4 or 5, because I try to go see them in a few different places. I just went and saw them in San Diego, and then I usually can see them in Georgia at least once. Okay. And then in LA, I'll see them twice.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah.
I was going to say, will you go to random baseball stadiums when you're on the road just random baseball games, or?
Yeah, I'll go to any baseball game if I'm on the road and there's a home game, just to see the field, just to see the stadium and kind of check it off my list.
Sure.
But it's extra points if the Braves are playing,
Yeah. I was going to ask, they have a list of every stadium you check, you hit every one of them.
So there's actually a map right up there with some pins, and all the green pins are the baseball stadiums.
Oh wow. That's
and all
cool.
The red pins are countries that I've been to.
And you've been to a lot of those as well.
Been to a lot of those.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. We don't need to say thank you for what you do for the troops. That's amazing. The trips that you've made over there. I mean, how is that? I mean, what kind of an experience is that?
Well, I mean, I think when you go and entertain the troops, especially in a war zone, it's a lot more pressure. If I bomb in Milwaukee, I'm like, whatever. There's a new group coming in tomorrow. If you bomb in Iraq, you're like, well, this is the only show they're gonna get for a year. No. Yeah.
Never thought of that. That's poor guy.
Yeah. So there's just more pressure because you just don't, this is the one reprieve that they have.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't really bomb anymore, you know what I mean? But there's just more pressure to have a perfect show to make everybody happy. Whereas, your focus is not on making everyone happy all the time. In a local show, you're focused, for me personally, I enjoy making as many people possible as happy. Like, I won't just keep doing material if clearly everyone's uncomfortable. I'll change it up, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But like, there's just a lot more pressure in a war zone to make sure that everyone's happy and that you're getting people laughs. I mean, that's what you're there for. I wear extra perfume. Like, I know what else I'm there for. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's not just because I'm the funniest comedian in the whole world, at least back when I started, nowadays it might be that.
Yeah.
So do you, back in the day or even now, do you then say, okay, let me look at my risque jokes, or I don't want to say dirty jokes, and I'll use those because that's what the boys want?
I actually don't have a lot of dirty jokes, but I'll look them up so that I can remember them. Like, if I'm doing a show for the Marines, I'm like, I better do some dirty jokes. If I'm doing a show for the Air Force, I'm like, don't do any dirty jokes.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody's really different, And so, but then I have a lot of material that that's just military specific.
Okay.
So now I kind of know what material works particularly well for them. And so a lot of times it's sports and maybe like a little sex stuff. But I mean, again, I don't have a lot of that because I'm just kind of a square. And then just military jokes about the military themselves.
Did you ever find yourself in any dangerous situations when you were over there doing that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
I think I heard a story. Weren't you in a near plane crash or were?
Oh, yeah. I talked about that on Ryan Sickler's podcast, but yes, we were going from, that wasn't even the one I was thinking of. Amazingly, almost in a plane crash, and that's not the one I was thinking of.
Oh.
That was going from Diego Garcia. We were flying from Singapore to Diego Garcia in the South Pacific. And that on that particular plane, it was I think it was a C-130. We lost all oxygen and the plane started diving, but we had no idea what was happening because we were all passing out and putting on our masks and stuff. But it turned out they were just driving to 10,000 feet so that we could breathe outside air. Because when a plane loses cabin pressure, that means you're breathing the air from 35,000 feet, which is not sustainable. Like, it's like Mount Everest, right? So, they have to dive down to 10,000 where you can breathe normally. But that was super scary. But no, I was thinking of the time that we were in the green zone in Iraq, and like, we were on a Black Hawk, and the Black Hawks fly in twos because they protect one another. And so they, we're in one Black Hawk, and we're on there with our rep his name's Major. Everybody called him Major Hated, but his name was Major Hater. That's what it was. His name was Major Hater, and everybody called him Major Hated. And and so we're on a Black Hawk in a green zone, and we're flying to a hospital to do a show. And and all of a sudden these flares go off on the Black Hawk, and you can smell them immediately because you go, oh, there's sulfur, right?
Yeah.
And the major goes, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, you're in charge, like, why are you asking me? I tell dick jokes, and then, it turned out that somebody had radar lock on us. So then they just, blew off the flares, and then the rocket hit the flare.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well,
that's
close enough for me.
The bad guys
went and did a show.
The bad guys don't care that there's just funny people on the helicopter. Come on, we're just here to entertain.
They wanted them to go to their camp.
It was it was always really. And then when we left that show, so we were initially told that we weren't going to be able to go back, that we were going to have to spend the night in the hospital. And we had just been trapped at this multinational forces camp because of a sandstorm for 3 days. And when there's a sandstorm, there's no visibility on the ground. So the Blackhawks can't fly because they have to be able to look at the ground and make sure no one's shooting at them from the ground. So they have to give a visual on the ground. And so we had been trapped in this multinational forces camp for 3 days. And it was kind of intense conditions just because it was far away from any kind of luxury, meaning like toilets that flush, stuff like that. And so yeah, we kept doing all these random. It was also a ton of Polish troops there and Australians. And then we would always get alcohol from the Australians because they were allowed to have alcohol. And the Marines would actually get it for us because the Marines always knew a way to get alcohol. The Americans never could have any alcohol because apparently guns and alcohol don't mix.
Oh.
And which is, probably a good thing. And so, yeah, we kept doing all these like weird shows around the base at night. We did a show in the dark at the Marine camp, which looking back was probably less safe than being bombed. But it was,
With
yeah,
that many men. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
yeah, like you would go into, there was an old prison there, and not even a prison, sorry, it wasn't even a prison, it was an old house. And they took me into this house because part of the experience is that they show you around the base, and then they take you and they go, oh, this is where we store the pens, and you go, oh, that's amazing, how many pens? You just act very interested because you're just helping them get out of the monotony for the day.
Yeah.
And they're showing us around these offices, and there's this fly paper hanging off of a hook in the ceiling. And they go, oh yeah, this used to be a torture chamber, one of Saddam's torture chambers. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And they go, oh yeah. He would throw parties, and then he'd say, okay, everybody move to the next room. And if you went into that room and there was a chandelier, it was a party. And if there was a hook, somebody was getting made an example of. So that just happened to be one of the places.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Good
got
history.
made an example of. And, they were just doing regular filing and faxing in that room.
No
and
torturing.
You got a little chill when you walked in there. You didn't really know why. And you're like, oh, people have died in here. That's
Probably a lot.
That's probably why. So anyway, I'm sorry if this is boring, but
it is
I
not.
was going to tell you how when we were going back, when we were leaving the green zone. So anyway, we had just gotten to Bayat, which is Baghdad International Airport, which was like the huge base in Iraq where the airport was. And we were staying in one of Saddam's, camping palaces, right? And there were all these palaces around this lake that different branches of different countries were staying in. And so we were like, oh my gosh, we're in this like fancy place now. We finally got out of there. And then we go to do a show, and they go, and I really wanted to do that show because that's where the guys from my hometown were based. And I was very set. The whole point of me going on this trip was to try to see the guys from my from Calhoun, where I grew up.
Nice. Okay.
And then they go, oh, we're not going to be able to go because it got bombed today. And I was so sad and disappointed. But they said, oh, everybody's okay. And
you're like, I just meant I didn't get to perform.
Yes. And then, but then they sent us to it. So then they sent us to another place that we didn't have to drive. Like now you can't even convoy anymore. They don't allow convoys. And a convoy means, you're a bunch of vehicles follow each other, and then the two tanks in the front circle the wagons.
Oh,
and we would do that on heavy, like on a 2-lane freeway. We'd have this long convoy going from base to base, and the two Humvee, tank type Humvees would be circling. And then the locals in Iraq would get so annoyed that they would go to the other side of the freeway to go around us, and then just be like passing cars at 80 miles. There's no speed limit either. So it's like, it was terrifying. Anyway, we didn't end up getting to go to that show. So I was really sad. And then they go, oh, but we can go do this other show at this hospital. And then you go, okay, well, that's great. Like, thank goodness we can go at least do some good, right? So then we go to this hospital, and then they go, oh, there's another sandstorm coming in. You guys can't go back. And then we were like, all right, I guess we're sleeping in a hospital tonight, right? And then last second they go, oh, you know what? Last second they go, we got 2 Blackhawks that are gonna take you back. They just have to drop some guys off at Abu Ghraib. And we go, and and then we look over on at the helipad, and there's these 4 guys on their knees with like
bags over their head,
bags over their heads, and glow sticks around their neck in case they ran. Yeah. And then they got on one Blackhawk and we got on the other. And I said,
nice.
I think I'm good here. I think I'm ready to go home. But yeah, so everything was very real. It's not like, you know, you just go, because the group that I went with was called Comics on Duty. And we really specialize in going to FOBs, like forward operating bases, which never got big shows.
Yeah.
Because big companies like the USO, they'll go to big bases and they'll be there for 24 hours. But we really specialize in going to the forward operating bases, which, you know, when you go to in Iraq, everything is divided into 3s, right? You have your main base, which supplies the forward operating bases, which have about 100 to 300 people. And then those FOBs supply the patrol bases, which are the guys, like 10 guys in a group.
Okay.
That go out. Yeah, I think it's 10. I might be wrong. People in the military are probably gonna yell at me that I'm saying everything.
I think
for what you do for them, I think they're all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that was a really long story. But...
No, that's great. That's awesome. How did you get?
It's worth talking about. Yeah.
How did you get involved in it to begin with?
So I asked around because as soon as I found out that they were even sending people over there, I got in touch with one of the guys that booked it. And I sent him a tape and he goes, you know, I have way too many requests and I already took a woman and it was kind of a nightmare. Like, I guess she like complained the whole time and wouldn't carry her bag and stuff like that. And he was like, you know, I'm not sure. And then he had somebody drop out. And I said, listen, I promise, like, I'm from the South, like, that's not me. And this really means a lot to me because it's my hometown is out there. And I really want to see them because, I mean, I grew up in a town where we had recruiters in our lunchroom every day.
Sure.
And it was a lot, you know, these guys get asked, you know, do you want to be a factory floor manager or a hero? And so that was like one of the only ways out. Yeah, it was a big way out. And so I just said, I got to get out there and see them and see things for myself instead of just watching the news or what people told me. I really wanted to know. And when you go out there as a comedian, what I didn't know until I got out there was that you get given a rank, which is a GS. I think ours is a GS 14, which means General Service 14, which is the equivalent of a full bird colonel. So I get to talk to colonels and generals and all these brass all the time. And I can ask them, how much does that cost? I'm also a citizen, right?
You get to ask them top secret questions?
I mean, I can ask them, but they're probably not going to tell me.
I mean, I think how much most of that stuff costs is kind of top secret.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of things that were not like we had just captured Saddam when I was in Iraq. He was still alive. We had just captured him. It was 2005. And I go, where is he? And they go, we can't tell you that. And they would just like point to a building, you know?
Yeah, it's just.
Yep.
Wow.
You know, I mean, part of that is probably like, we could tell you, like, no one's going to believe you, even if we do. If you go, oh, he's over here, you know, like nobody's gonna believe you. But also, like, I'm not gonna tell anybody. And it's been, you know, 20 years since that.
Yeah.
And now I'm telling people, like,
well, he was
right there. He was right there.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, so he's dead and gone. We're good.
It's pretty close.
Well, again, like you said, you know, thank you for doing that. It means a lot, obviously, to the troops, and it's just great.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So that was a big part of your childhood, you know, and your thing. So how did you get involved in comedy? Was it a big part of your childhood as well?
Comedy was not a big part of my childhood. Actually didn't, I can remember my mom watching Roseanne and Tim Allen. My mom always liked it, but it wasn't something that we watched together. I remember it being on, and in fact, when I started stand up, people told me like, "Oh, you should do stand up," and I said, "I don't have a sitcom. Like, I can't be a stand up," because I didn't know how it worked. But I never really watched it growing up or anything. And then when I went to college for journalism in Georgia,
Okay.
and then I realized because CNN was there, and I started at UGA, and they had a big journalism school, and I worked for Housing 12 News, and then and that's when I found out that you had to write the news, and I said, "What? Like, I thought you just read off a teleprompter. No thanks. This is boring. I don't want to do that."
Right.
The news is boring. So I did some sports coverage for them, and then I ended up transferring colleges to Georgia State, which is in downtown Atlanta, because I was performing at Six Flags at the time in the shows, as you do.
As the Tasmanian Devil.
I was Taz. I was also Daffy. Yeah, I know. I had a lot of gigs. Lost a lot of weight that summer. It was a great summer. At first, that was the second year. The first year, I was the host of a game, like a kids game show called the Bugs Bunny World Games.
Ooh.
You don't want to eat Daffy. He's too tough. Stuff like that, and and so it was really cheesy. We did a little song and dance, and
hopefully that was in the air conditioning or something.
No, that was outside.
Oh boy.
I know. Everything. Yeah. I wasn't good enough to be in the singing and dancing, the real singing and dancing shows. I was more just peppy, and I always looked and sounded like a cheerleader, but I was never a cheerleader. So It got me a gig as like a host, basically. So anyway, I was working there, and it was it was a really good job for college. I always had to pay all my own bills for college, my own way, all my dorms and my car payments and stuff like that. And that job was amazing because I could, it was really good for school, because we worked just on the weekends during the school year, but in the summers we worked 6 days a week when school was out. So but we got paid on salary.
Oh.
And I, had health insurance, all this stuff. So it was really great job in college, and I didn't want to let it go. And I really loved performing. And so I moved to Atlanta, and thought I was still going to do journalism. And so then I was doing the news on the radio station in Atlanta. We had a radio station at our college called Album 88, which was the biggest student-run college radio station in the country.
Oh, wow.
And so I just happened to luck into that. I had a class with the GM of the station. And so he said, "Hey, you can do the news on our station." And I started doing it, but I was telling jokes. It was like during the Lewinsky scandal. So they go, "You can't make jokes about the news." And I go, "I can't make jokes about the president getting a blowjob." And they go, "No." And I said, "Well, I don't want to do it." And they go, "But you could do the entertainment news, and you can make all the jokes you want." And I was like, "All right, cool." But I still didn't know that I was really doing, I mean, I was just making myself laugh. You can't hear, no one else is in the room. I don't know if anybody else is laughing. So anyway,
Perfect.
And then because of that, they put me on this other show with the GM and this other guy, and we would interview all the comics that came through the Punchline in Atlanta. And so the very first person to ever give me tickets to a show is Mitch Hedberg. And then, and so people go, so that was my first comedy show ever. And people always say, "Oh, is that what made you do comedy?" And I always say, "Well, you don't see Mitch Hedberg and go, 'Oh, I could do that.'"
Right.
I just was like, yeah, this was cool. I have no idea how that works. And I just went about my day. And so then when I finally moved to Los Angeles, I started DJing weddings and bar mitzvahs as a job, because I had all this experience as a DJ at a radio station, right? And then a guy that I DJ'd.
Entertaining as a Tasmanian devil. So you got to put that to use.
Sure.
Right.
I had a lot of experience with children. And so because I was doing all of that, this guy that I DJ'd with I guess I always made him laugh in the car, because you always had to drive somewhere as a team and set up the speakers and stuff. And he really pushed me to do stand up. And I just no one's ever told me I was funny. And that's not totally true. I guess I just never looked at it that way. I was always making people laugh because I was making fun of them. And so they would be laughing, but they would just be saying, that's not funny. That's not funny. And then I just heard that's not funny.
A lot. Yeah.
Then why are you laughing?
Yeah.
So he pushed you. Did he push you to like open mic for the first time, or what? That okay?
Yeah, he kept saying like, you got to do it. You know, just like basically dared me to do it until I finally, agreed to the dare. And then I was watching the news in Los Angeles one day. This was probably 2003 when I started. Was thinking about it. I had gone through a breakup, so I was like, sad. I needed to get out of the house, and I was watching the news, and this guy on the news shot himself in the head with a nail gun, and like it like the nail ricocheted off of the tree, whatever it was that he was building, and it ricocheted up into his eye socket, up into his brain, and he worked the whole day. And he worked 8 hours. He worked the whole day. And then when he finally went to the hospital, everyone was like, I can't believe he didn't feel it. I can't believe he didn't feel it. And I said, well, I wouldn't be able to feel 3.5 inches if I got nailed. So what's the big deal? And so that was the first joke that I ever wrote. See, that made you laugh. That was the first joke I ever wrote, and it worked. And then I thought, oh, this is so easy. And then it took me probably 2 more months to write another good joke. And that's still pretty much the trajectory I'm on. It takes me about 2 months to write a joke to this day for myself. Now, for other people, I mean,
I was going to say, you wouldn't be around if it took you 2 months to write one joke.
No, I mean, so easy to write jokes for other people, but for myself, ugh.
Is it different when you're writing? Yeah. Is it different to write for somebody else than it is to write for you? Do you write it differently, or is?
Mm-hmm. I guess like just the point of view is a little different. Depends on what it is. I don't really write stand up for other people.
Sure. Yeah, you write a lot of roast stuff, right?
Yeah, so that more is just, those are just kind of targeted jokes, or when it's lights out, it's topical jokes about the news, and so you already have the setup. They give you all the setups. You just need the punchline.
Sure.
So when you write late night jokes, there's 2 researchers, 2 to 3, and they will basically send you a whole like 2 pages of topical news stories. And the news story is written out like a setup, basically.
Okay.
So you can sometimes reword the setup if you need to make it hit in a different way based on what it is you're writing. But man shoots himself in the head with a nail.
Yeah.
Never doesn't feel it. And then you go, all right, well, I know what the joke is. And usually about 5 of us have the same joke. And then you're looking for other variations of different ways,
Okay.
So, yeah. So when it's topical, that stuff is very easy. That stuff comes very easy to me.
Yeah.
And roast jokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there ever a roast joke that you wrote, loved, and they're like, we just can't say that?
All the time.
Yeah. I thought anything goes for roast, but anyway. Okay.
It just depends on who say, like sometimes, or, like my favorite roast joke that I ever wrote was about James Franco. And I gave it, Jeff Ross was going to do it, and he told it at the taping, but then he kind of stuttered it and or misspoke, and then he didn't do a retake. A lot of times you'll just do a reset and just say it one more time.
Sure.
And he didn't, so they cut it. And then
so what was it?
Oh, I can use it. So it was James Franco, you're an insult to Italian actors everywhere. I bet James Gandolfini is trying to roll over in his grave right now. And that was one of my favorite. And because Gandolfini had just died. So it was, you had the prescient moment of it being new, and then it also being funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So I know you did a lot of roasting yourself too. Did you enjoy that, or did you prefer to write for somebody else?
I definitely prefer to write. I do not prefer to do the roasting myself.
Yeah.
That's just, I think, at first I just thought nobody wants to see me roast, and then it got to the point where, oh no, everybody wants to see me roast. And now this is a whole other kind of pressure where it's like, well,
Yeah.
now everyone's expecting me to win. And that's really terrifying. So I would rather just write jokes for other people.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose you could hide behind. I don't want to say hide behind someone else, but you can write an insulting kind of funny joke and give it to someone else, and they take the brunt of it.
Oh, totally. And it's not that I don't want, to hurt someone's feelings. My goal when I roast myself, when I'm actually out there doing the battle myself, my goal is to not hurt your feelings. My goal is to impress you. I'm never going to write something that I think you wouldn't yourself want in your act.
Sure.
What I want is for you to love it so much that you wish you had written it for yourself.
Oh,
And I don't really, I also never roast anybody that I don't particularly like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because of that reason, it will just turn out mean.
Yeah. We've had Earl Skakel on the podcast, and we love he's obviously fantastic at it.
Yeah.
And I know you guys roasted each other at least once, maybe more than once.
On a daily basis, we roast each other when we see each other at the Comedy Store. But yeah, he's one of my favorite people in the whole world. Yeah. And again, like that was also in a tournament setting. So it was different. But if somebody had asked me to roast him, I would say, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems like he'd be an easy
yeah.
guy to roast. There's a lot of things to go after with Earl. So.
Yeah, there's plenty,
But he could take it.
And right. That's a great thing. He's so good at taking
Yeah,
it.
but it's also more fun to kind of go under those untapped markets. And sometimes I feel like that's the only trouble with roast battle is that a lot of times these people have been roasted multiple times. So what's the new angle? What am I going to say that hasn't been said in a different way? I'm just saying the same thing about you and just in a different way with a more topical flair.
Yeah.
So that really doesn't.
That's what I noticed with roasts that you were involved in. Most of the people that roasted you for being slutty. I'm like, you just don't seem like you're that. Is this?
No, I'm not that at all. So I was never offended.
Yeah.
And then I always had a great retort because I'm like, you guys did zero research. Like you didn't even try. You didn't, that's why Mike Lawrence joke about me was the best of all time. Cause we met before we did our final roast battle in Montreal for roast battle season 1. And I said, everybody always roasts me for being a slut. And like, I go, I'm a prude, and he wrote that joke that said Sarah Tiana is such a prude. She doesn't even put out new material. And I go, that one hurt because that's probably a little real.
That one really hurt.
That one really hurt.
I suppose they do hurt a little more when they're true.
When they're true, when they have a semblance of truth to them, But I mean, when I remember roasting David Ortiz, and I was the only woman on the panel on the dais, and everyone called me a slut, and I said, you guys are giving me a lot of credit. My list of sexual partners is a lot like Dustin Pedroia. It is embarrassingly short. And, and so, you can usually have a rebuttal because I know what they're going to say. And I don't think I'm a very easy person to roast. So because I don't have anything major, like now I might be easier that I'm older and I've had a baby and,
a baby out of wedlock.
A baby out of wedlock. All that kind of, now there's new angles. But before it was like, what are you gonna?
I think that's an easy target is against any woman, the slutty angle.
Right.
Yeah. It's just it's kind of to me, it's lazy.
Sure.
So I don't really, unless you really are a slutty person.
Yeah.
Then it's, then I find that valid.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your baby. Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you. Cage. Yeah.
Of the name.
Thank you.
Name. It does.
Yeah, we wanted to give him a name that sounded sporty but wasn't too much pressure, Like, I'm not going to hit a, name him Dinger and then he can't hit a home run. Like, that would be so embarrassing, So,
Dude, you can't even get out of the infield. What?
God, I should have named you Bunter.
Can you change a kid's name halfway through their career? I don't know.
Yeah,
Probably.
Bunter S. Thompson. That's what I could name him. Of course, right now he's super into baseball right now, which is like my favorite thing in the whole world. But he always thinks he hits a home run anytime he makes contact with the ball. He's 3.
Okay.
He insists on hitting it in the air. He insists on everyone playing positions.
Oh, he's not hitting off a tee anymore. He wants to be pitched to.
No, never hit. He's never really hit off the tee.
Okay.
Yeah, we tried to get him to hit off a tee, and then he saw kids hitting it in the air, and he goes, "No, I don't do that. I'm advanced." Whatever. But he's really bossy. Yeah, he's just really bossy. He's like, "Mom, you're the catcher. You got to kneel down. You got to give signs. You got to hold your glove like this. You got to chew gum. You got to spit on the ground. You got to lift your leg when you throw." There's all these rules.
Wow.
I know. It's like, I'm like, oh, I kind of.
But to be fair, he's coming from a big sports family background.
Exactly.
I mean, to be fair, you're not in sports, but you live and breathe it. But the dad does.
Yes. Yeah.
Sports,
I mean, all of us, his dad's a sportscaster. I'm a sports nut. So it's always on. And I always said, he doesn't have to love it, but that's what's going to be on.
Yeah.
So you don't have to watch it, but it's going to be on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nice. We have it on when we're outside at the pool, even when we're playing baseball outside. It's on.
It's on. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah. If I could share my screen with you right now, you would see that I have the Braves game behind me.
I was gonna ask. Well, he said something, about when we asked about missing the game. I'm like, she's not. Somehow she's got it coming.
No, I'm just following the play-by-play. We're up 4-0. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. See,
so I'm a little bit more relaxed.
All right, that's good. We're a little bit more relaxed too because we're drinking your bourbon. But
yes,
right. Did you put mint leaves in it?
We didn't. No, I gotta admit, we didn't. Isn't it basically a mint julep at that point?
Yeah, but without sugar.
Okay.
But the mint is pretty sweet already.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's like a mint julep without the sugar or the powdered sugar or whatever,
Okay.
Aren't they smaller though too?
Usually, yeah. We kind of did do pint glasses of bourbon for some.
Those look good.
I mean, again, we're in Wisconsin. This is how we drink, but so.
What do you normally drink?
Just whiskey, Irish whiskey.
Yeah, I'm not much of a drinker anymore. I'm the THC guy in the group, so I just drink whatever. That's why we started asking the guests. We're like, when we first started this thing, we were gonna pick cocktails, and anyway, then as we started to have guests, we're like, we might as well ask them because then we get new cocktails all the time, and so it's fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
try something new.
Yeah, so I mean, it has turned me into I'm more into tequila than I ever have been because we get a lot of people who drink tequila. And
I'm always fascinated by all these tequila drinkers. Everybody's, it's an upper. And I go, I think it still tastes like shit.
How can, okay.
And it's not the right one. I mean, I'm not a big tequila guy, but you do have to get a good tequila because
you have to get a good one. And I've had good one. I mean, I think I just don't have a palate for it. I think I just, it's just not my.
Yeah.
So, but
I
if
love
you
a
go
margarita.
Sure. Because it's coated with sugar and flavors and yummy, and I love them too.
It's masked.
You don't even know there's tequila in one of those things.
But if you were to go out for a ball game, what do you drink? Beer?
At a ball game? Usually I'll find a bar and I get, Jack and soda is normally what they have. Yeah. In fact, this Texas Rangers game that I'm watching, that's one of my favorite stadiums in the whole world because they have frozen Jack and Coke. So it tastes like a Coke icy. There's Jack Daniels in it, and it is so fantastic.
Sounds good.
And I don't even like Jack and Coke, but I
was gonna say by the third or fourth inning, your scorekeeping probably isn't too accurate anymore. There's an error on every play.
Yeah. And a lot of things dripping on my scorecard. Yeah, but
that's fine.
But no, when I go to the Comedy Store, Jack and soda.
Yeah.
They used to be Bullet soda, but they don't have Bullet anymore. Then it was Buffalo Trace, then they don't have Buffalo Trace anymore. So
wow.
Jack it is.
So speaking of the store, How long have when did you get passed at the Star? How long has your name been on the wall?
I believe it was 2000 and I want to say 2011 or 2009. I can't remember if it was 2009 or 2011.
Okay.
Remember, she's drinking Jack and Coke.
Yeah. And
No, I just like I feel like I always said 2009, and then the other day I thought maybe it's 2011, but I want to say it's 2009 because I remember it being 6.5 years after I started stand up.
Sure.
And so I feel like it was June 2009.
Okay.
We'll go with that.
And who did you showcase for? Who was actually there who passed you?
Well, Mitzi was there
Was
when
it
I
Mitzi?
was.
Okay.
Mitzi was still there, but Tommy was the manager.
Okay.
So it was probably Tommy.
Yeah.
Because Mitzi, like I had showcased for her probably like 4 times. And then I eventually got past about, I think the 6th or 7th, but she wasn't there to see the last 2 that I had done.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. Tommy was like, wow, she loves you, but I don't know. I never trust what Tommy's, I'll never be like, Mitzi loved me, because, that could be my own insecurity, just feeling like,
Sure.
because she didn't tell me herself.
Yeah, sure.
I don't really know. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I was there with her.
That's awesome.
Is that how you got a lot of the writing? How did you morph into the writing? Just from being at the Comedy Store and people saying, we like your stuff, come right on Jeff Ross show,
Come on down. Yeah, that's how it works.
That's why I'm asking.
That's a great question, because that is, for me in particular, that's not how it worked. For me, I was running my own shows, because that's, when you're doing stand-up, you start in open mics, then you start doing bringer shows on top of open mics. And the bringer shows mean if you bring 5 people, you can go up and do this much time, right?
Sure.
And then you wear out all your friends and they never want to speak to you again. And then you start running your own room so that you can trade for spots and time until you get passed at a club that will just book you without any of those caveats. So I was running a room called the Unknown Theater, which is where the goddamn Comedy Jam started. Lots of stuff started there. Jeff was coming in to practice his roast jokes at the time, because we had a really cool setup. It was this huge warehouse, and it was a theater in a big warehouse, and it was $5 to get in, and everyone got free Bud and Bud Light. So I would charge the comics as well, and then they could just drink for $5 all night.
Oh, perfect.
Which made them happy.
Yeah.
And so there was always a lot of people milling around. And so anyway, he started coming in, and I was constantly putting him up. And then finally I just said, what's the next roast you're doing? And he told me, and I said, what's your email? And he gave it to me. And I just kept sending him jokes until he couldn't ignore me. And then he finally was like, come over and write with us. And so I went over, and it was him, Matt Edgar, and Tony Hinchcliffe. Was Sarah there? Because Sarah was on that roast too, Silverman. Can't remember if she was there. But Jeff was trying to write this joke. He's like, I really want to start this. It was the Sheen roast. And he goes, I really want to start this roast with a quote. And I was like, what do you mean? Just a famous quote? And he's, yeah. He said, something like, friends, Romans, countrymen. And I go, oh, lend Mike Tyson your ears. and he go, and like they all like threw their pencils at, like they had been trying to think of something for an hour. And then I like stroll in, and like the first thing I say, and that's how I opened the show. And from then on I had a gig. And he would always just say, and I knew it wasn't a paid gig. He told me that well before I ever showed up. He's like, he goes, this is a favor. I said, you don't have to pay me. I'm just happy to be in the room. I want to learn. I want to learn the most I can. But also, if there's a gig that you have where you can recommend me, that's all you owe me. But also I have to prove myself that you're even going to like any of these jokes. Know. And then he did. He got a USO show in Germany. So he took me to Germany with him.
Oh, wow.
And then right after that, he got The Burn on Comedy Central. and he hired me to be a writer on that.
Oh,
And
nice.
so that was WGA, and all of a sudden I'm in the guild, and there were 13 writers, one woman, and I was it.
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah.
hard to get your jokes out there because you're fighting all men?
Well, it was really hard to get a joke in the show because it was a half-hour show. I think I counted them once. There were 37 jokes in the show total
Okay.
after you counted them all.
Yeah.
And between the 13 of us, we probably sent in about 1,000.
Oh,
so if you get one in, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You're so happy to get one. So I usually got one in every show, and that's really all I cared about, just getting one. And then sometimes I'd get 7,
Yeah.
you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Back to the topic and whatever you just hit. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was it, really. It was just, but I also met a lot of great people. I asked a lot of great questions, and I never backed down, but I learned when to fight and what to fight for, what to give up on, what to care about, what to not care about, stuff like that. That was a really good learning curve in that room.
Wow.
And I went from there. And I just wanted to talk about Lights Out with David Spade, because that was one of my favorite talk
Mine
shows.
too.
I mean,
David is awesome.
I thought,
yeah,
I thought the way he laid out the show was great. And I was so happy when I saw that you wrote for it. A lot of it seemed like the whole time. And then and then I went back, I'm like, oh yeah, you're on pregnant.
Very pregnant.
Which was freaking hilarious.
The whole time. In fact, I just approved a clip of that that's coming out with from the panel that'll be out on my social media, I guess probably Friday. This is what I did with Dana Carvey and Al Madrigal. And I was like, oh, I'm not as fat there. But I hadn't told anybody I was pregnant. But I was. But nobody knew.
Okay.
So I just remember going like, oh yeah, this is before even Dave knew.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that was the first show that I had done. And at the time I was writing on the Alec Baldwin roast, and I had just found out I was pregnant. I was like, oh my God, I have 22 weeks of stand up on the road. What am I going to do? And out of nowhere, they called and said, do you want to be a writer on this show? I was like, oh my God, yes, and then the rest is history. Yeah.
When it was canceled, I was truly bummed.
Me too.
I bet more than me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but also just, I mean, it's pretty rare to be on a show that you love, not just the room, but just the show itself, that you love everything about it. It was just one of those shows that just felt effortless and easy to write for. He's an incredible boss. He's very generous. To have a host too, that is like, and when I mean generous, I don't mean financially. I mean, as a comic, he's generous. Like he wants you to be funny. He wants you to get laughs.
Yeah.
He's not trying to hog the spotlight. He's generous with setting you up to make you look funny, to make you look good.
Yeah.
And Dave is still really good about that.
Yeah. Every time I see him interviewed on anything, he seems just like the most genuine, nice person to work with. I mean, he just seems incredible. And he's obviously funny. So
hopefully you can work with him again. And still in touch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I still talk to him all the time. I haven't seen him in a little while. In fact, I'm gonna try to see him in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, we did a show after that on Netflix together, but I haven't seen him in a long time because he was on the road, and then
What show did you do together after that?
We did a show called The After Party on Netflix, which was it was supposed to be we thought it was going to be Lights Out, but just Netflix shows.
Yes.
And then it ended up being Dave interviewing people, and he's not a gusher. Dave's not a gusher, like he's not like, I'm so excited about your movie, because Dave's been a movie star for
forever.
ever. He's like, oh
yeah,
that's cool that you do movie. I mean, we all do movie. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah, I remember.
No, but he's very good at
a
making fun
gusher.
of himself too.
I remember seeing an
Yes,
episode or two of that.
exactly.
I do too. Yeah,
But,
true.
yeah, I remember it being on, but yeah.
Yeah, but it just kind of hid there, and it wasn't. We never could really figure it out because, it's just one of those scenarios where you and the network and everyone is trying to figure out this thing and make everybody happy, and then what you told us you wanted is different than what you ended up wanting. So it just becomes hard, and then you just try to make it work, and then sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Such as Hollywood.
Speaking of Hollywood and writing, what's the latest on the writer's strike, and where are things with that? And
well, looks like I'm moving to Milwaukee, guys, because not going to be any work here for a while. Yeah.
Not moving too quickly.
No, I don't think it's going to go I don't think it's going to be fast. I think
what
it's
is
going
this
to take a while.
What does it mean for like us as consumers of
reruns?
Is that what it means? Reruns of everything for a while? And
yeah, it means like no new content. Now some places, you have Netflix and Amazon and Apple that already had some stuff in the can, meaning it was already shot and done.
Sure.
But, anything that was in production now, even if the scripts are done, they're not shooting them because the actors are refusing to go to work, and then the Teamsters are refusing to cross the line, which means you don't have gaffers and grips and lighting. You don't have anybody driving transpo, nothing. So
they're behind the writers. Whereas when we were, and it's funny, I was just talking to my daughters about this yesterday. And it was like, well, when the writers are on strike, then all those positions you just mentioned, they're not working because there's nothing to film because there's nothing written. But if that's great that they're supporting and standing behind.
Yeah. In this case, in some cases they are, there's lots of scripts that are written, but there's nobody that will work on those.
Sure.
So sometimes actors won't go, but it just kind of has a huge trickle down effect. I mean, apparently the studios are losing $30 million a day. But
the money talks. That's the only way to get there.
They don't seem to want to come to an agreement. And, a lot of this is just because, and, this is not writers being greedy, but, we used to be able to make some sort of a living because you'd at least get 13 weeks to write on a show. And then that got cut down to 8. And then sometimes it got cut down to 6. And then sometimes they were like, well, can you just come in for 2 weeks and punch it up? And then, so there's just zero stability. If you're constantly having to find a new job, it just becomes incredibly stressful. Like, thank goodness I have stand up, but it is, it used to be that a room had to have 8 people, and then somehow it became 6, and then, or 5 with a floater.
Okay.
So, and then when you have less people, then that means you have to start doing other things. You can't just focus on writing jokes and material to make the show as funny as possible. You have to go film stuff on the street or look for, you're all of a sudden holding a camera or running around with a light.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know how to do this.
Right.
I don't know. I wasn't trained for any of this. And then that means somebody's didn't get that job.
Right. It's all, it all trickles down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting corners. So you had talked about a script you were writing and you wanted to get it in before the strike. A Christmas script. So I guess
Christmas script.
My line of questioning for that was, okay, well, I got it in before the strike. So now they can start filming. Obviously, if people want to work, the greppers, the cameramen, and all that stuff. But you have no rewrites then. That if they were to decide to film, they couldn't do any rewrites, right? You'd have to. Could they film that script as is?
I mean, if the studio wanted it to be done as is, what we turned it in basically, and there's still like a little bit more to do. So we actually didn't get it in as finished as we thought. But basically what it means is if the studio decided to buy it, then once they buy it, they can decide how much. So I'm sorry. They bought the option, which means they paid us to give us this is all very complex, but
well,
I know on Adam Ray's podcast on Adam Wright's podcast, I said that I sold a script, and I did. But there's different levels to selling. So they buy the script, and then but it's under an option agreement, which means they have a year and a half to do whatever they want, and to get you to rewrite it, to do all these different changes that you guys all agree on with the director. And then after that, when the script's in that position, then they have the option to buy it outright.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
More
so basically
money?
like means right now they're the only one that can make that movie.
Sure.
But if they decide not to fulfill the option and buy the agreement, which would give us more money, which would, mean that we would start going into production.
Mhm.
Then we get the movie back, and we can try to sell that.
Shop it around a little bit.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, so there's all these different levels and stages, but yes, we are. It is quite the long process. To the fact that when you see something in theaters, just know, like, we wrote that movie in 2016. It's 2023. And it won't even, if it were to come out, like if they were to buy it tomorrow, you would not see it till 2025 at Christmas.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Hollywood moves as fast as the United States government is what you're telling me.
Yes, nothing ever happened.
They are connected, they are one in one. So anyways.
They really are.
Wow.
Yes,
All right.
it is a lot. But yes, so luckily I have stand-up, so I have stuff to do. And in the meantime, my writing partner and I are just gonna write all these other things that we've been thinking about writing. Because we can still write, we just can't sell anything or pitch anything or get paid to write anything.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you got to keep them ideas flowing on paper. So
and
you don't lose them all.
Right. And then it's also just, like anything, it's a muscle. Stand-up is a muscle, like if you stop doing stand-up for a year, it's going to take you a while to get your sea legs back.
Yeah, for sure.
And same with writing. It's all a muscle.
So I'll give you credit for the writing, but I disagree that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
It's not just a movie set at Christmas.
No, it's a Christmas movie. And I have tradition of watching with my children every Christmas.
Well, that's fine if that's your tradition, but
But even Bruce Willis said it's not.
Because of her.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. He agreed.
Do you truly believe that, or did you just think it was funny?
No, I truly believe that. No, I mean,
it's a good way to end the show.
I think the reason that I know the director has said it is a Christmas movie, or the writer, because Rich Eisen had him on to ask. But I think that as a screenwriter, making something at Christmas raises the stake, right? If it's at Valentine's Day, it's not as big of a deal to miss time with your family, right? Why else would he be going out to the coast to see his kids? Because it's not as big of a deal if it's just his weekend.
Right.
Or summer. So I felt like the only reason Christmas was in there was to give the movie stakes. But I thought that there was already enough stakes because
death and everything.
There's terrorists. Terrorists are stakes.
Kind of a big stake.
So.
All right. I'm just.
All right.
No. But I really see both sides. I totally see both sides.
But to be fair, your idea kind of the karma kicked you in the butt because you missed your motorcycle ride on Zed because of
I know.
So I'm gonna say if you thought it was a Christmas movie, you would have got that ride.
He offered it to me. I just wasn't paying attention. Yeah.
Oh, that's why you're wearing that shirt.
That's why I'm wearing the shirt.
Came to me.
I
came out in it, and he's like, "You look like a bum."
I watched that movie every Friday in high school. Every Friday night, my friends and I would go to the high school football game if it was home, and then we would watch Pulp Fiction at my house.
Wow, that's crazy. How many times do you think you've seen it?
More than me.
A lot. I mean, probably 30, 40 times.
Holy shit. Yeah.
But it's been a long time since I've seen it. I probably don't remember. I definitely don't remember enough lines.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been talking a long time, but we got to talk about your special before we
heck yeah.
Before we go
anywhere.
Oh,
yeah.
Because you watched it the other day.
Hilarious. Yeah, it's hilarious. And it was filmed at the Comedy Store, which is new, right?
It is new. It's a new thing that they're doing. And so they came to me and said, we want to kick these off and we'd like to do it with you. And I said, did you mean somebody else? And they said no. And then yeah. So we filmed it at the Comedy Store. It's only half an hour. I forgot all of my other material during COVID. So now I record it and write it down. I never did that before. But yeah, I mean, it's called 44. That's how old I was when I taped it. It's on YouTube now. It's also Hank Aaron's number, as you guys brought up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's on there. It's free for anybody to watch. And I hope you like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is very funny.
There is, I mean, there is, you know, a nice half-hour comedy special is one. You're not going to lose any attention. You know, you're going to sit through the. I mean, even the young kids can make it through a half hour. So
yes, even the kiddies.
I did notice the thank you at the end. You seemed a little emotional. How much did it mean to you to be able to do that there and be asked to do that?
Man, it didn't really hit me until the end. You know, that club is my home, and everybody that works there and all the comics, they're my brothers and sisters. And I kind of grew up there and got my sea legs there. So to be able to film a special that I had complete control over with their blessing, and to be asked to do it, to be one of the first the first to do it, meant a lot. It meant that I meant just as much to them as they mean to me.
Yeah.
And it was just a really beautiful moment to know that, that we're all family and that we got each other's back. So
that's awesome.
It's not a bad place to have your back.
That's true. Yeah.
I got to know, does the stage always look like that, or do they make it look like that for the Cracker Barrel stuff?
They made it look like a Cracker Barrel for my special. No, it does not look like that.
Okay, because that's funny. And as I'm watching it, literally when you're going through the Cracker Barrel skit, commercial breaks in at Applebee's. I'm like, no, they gotta have Cracker Barrel
hilarious.
commercial.
That's so
no,
funny.
You need YouTube Premium is what the problem.
I'm sorry, but you can do it without. You can still watch it without.
You can still watch it without. I don't have YouTube Premium.
Thank you.
But yeah,
100%
no. We just made it look like a Cracker Barrel as my theme.
Yeah. Well, it's nice because it's just so in passing. Like it's not, you don't, until you kind of point at it, you don't really, why is that looking like that? So
exactly.
Watch the special and you'll understand.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And worth it.
Yes.
Have you
Thank you guys.
Just curious, have you ever been to Appleton, Wisconsin? We have a club here. I don't know if you ever.
Skyline?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I've been to Appleton. I don't believe I've been to the comedy. Is it comedy on
No, that's Comedy on State. That's in Madison.
Oh.
That's
we're the Skyline Comedy Cafe.
No, yeah, I feel like I have been to Skyline Comedy Cafe.
Well, I know there's more than one Skyline. Not because like the owner.
Sure.
But yeah. So anyway, I was just curious.
I want to say that I have, but I know when I came to Milwaukee, that the time that I came to watch a Braves game, I was coming from Chicago.
Okay.
So I knew I drove up there just to see it. And I remember seeing the club when I was up there and walking around.
Okay.
But I wasn't performing when I came up to watch a game. I just can't remember if I've been there. I've been to Madison for something else, but it wasn't to do stand-up. It was, I don't even remember.
Okay.
That's bad.
Something with Blink 182.
All right. Were you in
it
the
was
band?
Comedy related, but it wasn't. I think I was just writing. I was just interviewing people in line at a Blink 182 concert.
All right. Okay.
I think.
Okay.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, Comedy on State in Madison's a really cool club. We were just there for the first time. Actually, we just saw Anthony Jeselnik there last month
one of
or
my
something.
favorites. Yeah, Anthony's one of my closest friends. We started stand up around the same time.
Oh yeah,
we used to run rooms together, and
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
we saw him coming. We said we had to go.
Yeah.
He's
dark.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Love it.
Very good. Yeah, his new bit about trans people, I think, is so genius.
I'm trying.
Did he do that one?
I don't
know. Maybe that was in his last special. Maybe I forgot.
I don't know.
No,
it was about a pregnant woman.
I think so. Yeah. I think there was something in there.
It was.
Yeah.
I don't remember the whole thing because we were laughing,
Okay.
Yeah.
drinking
don't
and
worry.
laughing, but it was a great show.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Anyway, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
you ever make your way to Wisconsin, we'll definitely come see you.
Great. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll do this
Absolutely.
again just to promote.
You bet. Anytime you want to come on here, you're more than willing.
Every time.
I have a notebook full and we only talked about half of it, but I don't want to keep you all night. I know you got a baseball
Because I
game.
talk too much. I'm
No,
sorry.
are you kidding me?
Oh,
No,
I
these
was-
are great stories.
Wouldn't
We
change
appreciate
it. Appreciate it. Give a
Believe me.
shout out. Oh,
Having something left in the notebook means we can invite you back and we still have something to
Yeah,
talk about.
totally.
So
absolutely love it.
Totally.
yeah, so go ahead and
Yeah.
promote away.
Yeah. Promote away?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
go
Promote
ahead.
anything you want.
Oh no, that's it. I only
YouTube?
have my special. I have zero thing of anything else going on.
All right.
Where,
Nothing
where
else.
can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, just at Sarah Tiana, or the Comedy Store if you're in LA. And if you guys come to LA, just let me know. I'll get you tickets to the store, even if I'm not there.
Thank you so much. That is a bucket list item. We are definitely coming. We've talked to so
Yeah.
many people now we're lucky now that we've talked to, a handful
Yeah.
of people that perform there, and definitely a bucket list item. We gotta get out there. So we will
Good.
hold you to that.
Great. Hold me to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you
right.
so
It was
much,
a pleasure
Sarah.
talking to you guys.
Yeah, you as well. Have a good
Enjoy the
night.
game.
Go
Go
Braves.
Braves.
All right. Bye-bye. Go Brave. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. The tavern is closed for now, but we'd love to have you back for more fun next time. Seriously though, get your asses out of here.